Special place in my heart for Guild guitars. I love them. I have owned so many of them, and they mean so much to me. Look, I have a poster on my wall. I have an original store retail banner there. I have a miniature Guild there on the wall that my friend Ed made for me, and now I have two of these that were just sent to me from Guild for a 3-question gear review. So this is the OM-320 and the D-340 for a 3-question gear review. That is what's good about these things, what's bad about these things, and if you're in the market for guitars under $300, should you buy these? Make sure you're subscribed. I'm Jeremy. This is Guitar Hunter. So these guitars just came out of the box. I just unboxed them, I checked them out, and these are my actual first impressions. Okay, when I look at this guitar, I like it. Oh, okay, it's a painted on decal. That makes sense. It's the iconic, traditional Guild logo that you would expect. Come on, focus. Pay attention. There we go. It's the original painted on logo that you would expect. It's the original logo, like the old one, but it's painted on. You can feel it as a graphic. Open gear tuners, the iconic headstock. There's something awesome. I love that. This is one of my favorite views, looking at the back of that gigantic headstock. It's so regal, and I just like it a lot. Now, this is the OM. OMs are an interesting thing. I feel like in the last 10 years, lots of people have moved from dreadnoughts into OMs. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think more people are playing guitar, including women, and so for a lot of women, a smaller size guitar is just more comfortable. And also, there's a less machismo pressure to play a big dreadnought that's uncomfortable and makes your fingers fall asleep, at least for me. So lots of people move to an OM. An OM is also really familiar because it's the same scale length. That's the distance from the nut here to the saddle is the same as a dreadnought, usually 25.5 inches in common guitar stuff. Sometimes Guilds are 25, and I'll put whatever the exact specs are up here. But as I react to this guitar, I like the top more than I like the back. So the top appears to be real mahogany, and the back seems to be Kaya, or African mahogany. It's just really ribbony. I mean, sure, I'm into it. I get it. But to me, this just doesn't look as primo. But let's keep in mind, I mean, this guitar is, a tenth of the price of the guitars back behind me. This guitar is $299, which is amazing that they're able to make this much guitar for it. They also came with really, really good gig bags. I'm surprised at how good the gig bags are. Guild was owned by Cordoba. Originally, they were owned by Fender. They were owned by Cordoba. Now, Cordoba has been bought by Yamaha, and so now these exist in the Yamaha Guitar Group, which doesn't mean they're technically made by Yamaha. It's just who's funding them. So for right now, they still have that heart of a Guild. So it's a really comfortable, really fun guitar. And the fingerboard, I'll have to double check. This may be Laurel, or it may not be Rosewood. But I'll put the actual specs. Actually, let me look them up. I'll read them really quickly. I know what you like, me reading you spec sheets. is laminate mahogany back and sides, solid mahogany top. It's a satin polyurethane finish, natural with black binding. Has the Guild style pickguard, which is great. 16-inch radius, C-shaped neck. It is a rosewood fingerboard. Okay, so it's a very figured piece of rosewood. There, you can see right there around the first fret. Surprisingly figured and pretty. 25.5-inch scale length, and it's an inch. That's interesting. It's an 1.11/16 nut width, not 1.75. So that is a little narrower. I mean, this is still standard, but it's not the newer, wider standard. Since 2012 or so, most acoustic guitars have moved up to 1.75. It's pretty minimal, but you can definitely feel it. The people who would play it most are fingerstyle players. But for a beginner, it's probably a little less space to really spread out your fingers. Open gear Guild vintage 16-to-1 tuners. So that's good. And it's interesting. On this, it says that the gig bag and case are sold separately, but they came in great gig bags. Definitely, they have such a Yamaha vibe to the gig bags, but they have the Guild logo, which rules. Let's talk about this. What I like about this guitar, I like the look of the top. Mahogany is very warm and articulate. It's a really comfortable and really exciting guitar. I'm excited to show you all these guitars, and I'm thankful that Guild sent me these guitars. So what I like about this guitar in particular, like I said, I love this headstock. I love the open gear tuners. The 1.11/16 is a little tight for some players, especially an OM, an orchestra model, is a fingerstyle guitar, so it needs a little more space. But overall, really cool specs on this guitar. $299, solid top. So that means that this guitar will change and grow and sound different and hopefully sound better as you play it as you get older. The truss rod is it has a truss rod. It has all the modern things you would expect and hope for in a guitar. So to me, I mean, there's a whole lot to like about this guitar. Now, things I don't like about this guitar. Like I said, the back and sides to me, there are a couple things, and I understand why these choices happen at a $300 guitar, but the very Kaya, the very African mahogany, how ribbony and stripy this is, it just feels a little cheapy on this. The fit and features, let me really look at this thing aggressively close. There is possibly, I'm going to have to check with a mirror, there's possibly a crack on the top of this guitar. Can you see that right in there? It's possibly a crack. It's not moving, but man, oh man, does that look like it could be a crack. Now, I'll say, it very well could be just a kind of a dark part of the finish, and that some of the pore fill, which it doesn't look like there's much pore fill in here, but it very well could be just stain in there. There's another little dark line here, but that one, I'm just going to have to check it. But fret ends are comfortable. They're not hanging over. Now, this guitar came directly from Guild. In my experience with brands, they don't seem to do special stuff when they send them to influencers such as myself. Yeah, because I've gotten some rough guitars. Comfortable. The action is okay on this one. Probably could come down a little bit. There's a lot of saddle. Okay. That's all the good. That's all the bad. Would I buy this? I think if you're looking to begin playing guitar, I mean, this has incredibly strong Martin 0015M vibes, or the Guild M20. Now, this is a little bigger than the M. The M20 is a legendary guitar. I love it. I owned one a couple years ago. Didn't get to keep it because being a YouTuber, and anyway, I wish I could have kept it. Wish I could have kept a lot of guitars, but the M20 is very special, very wonderful. It's a smaller size guitar. But it's remarkable. So this guitar for $300, I think it is a really good option, especially with the solid top. Warm, inviting tone, easy to play, skinnier nut width. There's a lot of things that are really, really likable. listen to this guitar, it is bonkers. I just need to just jump in here. I feel like sometimes it gets lost on me. I mean, because I just play and review so many guitars, sometimes it gets lost on me how good guitars can be. And I mean, when I think about this guitar's $299, I mean, that's crazy. Yesterday I was playing this compared to my Martin Authentic D18, which is an $8,400 guitar, and this one holds its own. So it's crazy. Just thought you should know. This is iconic. I mean, this is like the look of Guilds for so long. I like that bright, shiny label. I keep getting distracted as I see it in the camera. But now, this guitar has some issues. Let's talk about it. The action on this guitar is very, very high. This guitar came to me new, like I said, and that action is very high. I mean, maybe the truss rod is just... No, truss rod actually has some... Like, it could have some relief, but it's okay. But it's just the saddle here needs to come down. Now, that's why I think you need to have a local guitar shop that you work with and you trust and that can check out the guitars before they come. Because it's a group effort for great guitars to make it from manufacturers to around the world in the hands of players. So this guitar is made in Asia. It comes over on a boat. It goes to California, which California is a very different climate than where I am in South Louisiana or in Virginia where I used to live, up in the mountains. And so you need someone to intercept them and just make sure the action is good, the strings are good, the relief is good, that the setup is tidy. So anyway, let's jump into this guitar. What do I like about this guitar? I really like this guitar. It sounds... It has a Guild kind of sound. It has this, like, wompy, womp, 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 this thing. It has this thing that just reminds me of kind of those big, kind of sing-along, strummy, like, if you're leading Christmas carols or playing where you have to play loud for a room of people... This has a lot of bass and low end. I mean, usually... Okay, so let's talk about, like... It's a Sitka spruce top. I'll run through the specs here in a second. It's a Sitka spruce top, and so usually that means really good things. Means balanced, piano-like, not too bassy, not too trebly, really clear and present. And then you get the back and sides, which would kind of add a flavor to how that guitar sounds. And so usually the breakdown on an affordable guitar is you'd have laminate back and sides, and laminate, believe it or not, glue is not a great tone wood, and so I usually don't like having it in my tone woods because it gives a bright and kind of a percussive component, sometimes harsh, sometimes chimey. It gives like lots of trebly high-end things, and what's probably happening is it's actually not giving you those things, but it's taking away everything but that. So it's probably taking a lot of the bass in the low end and what you would hope for in a guitar. Sitka spruce top, really wide grain. Typically, Sitka is really tight grained, really straight, but this is much wider and it's really pretty. Almost looks like Adirondack. And I think some of that space between the rings is probably where some of this like oomph and low end and bass is coming from. The X bracing on this guitar is iconically Dreadnought. Some Guild pedigree back there too. On the back and sides, laminate mahogany. Now this is, they call it mahogany. It looks more like Kaya or African mahogany. And there's a big butt joint here. That's fine. This is a guitar, when I say a butt joint, I mean right there. You can see there's a shift where this is a block of wood glued onto a larger board. That is a more responsible way of making guitars. You get more guitars with less drop, and you get more guitars out of the amount of wood than you need, less scrap wood at the end. This guitar also has 16-inch radius on the fingerboard, has rosewood fingerboard, which is exciting. That's a good feature. It's interesting that other brands struggle to get rosewood on fingerboards on guitars 2 and 3 times this price. So, interesting. 25.5-inch scale length and 1 inch and 11/16 or 1.6875-inch nut width. And it comes with a great gig bag. So, let's talk about this. What's good about this guitar? Big, boomy, bright voice. Sounds really good. Rosewood fingerboard. The pickguard is weird. It looks printed like it came on a computer, and it's like black and white. It's kind of weird. I've seen a whole lot of Gibson pickguards in my life, and this one has none of the red. It just looks like black and white. That's strange. It's the right shape. It's the right mojo, but it's just, it's missing that gild kind of lovely feature that they do. This guitar, there's much to really, really like about this guitar. Comfortable, big, loud guitar. This would be a great guitar if you're into bluegrass, if you're into traditional music, folky stuff, if you're playing in church, if you want something loud and strummy and wonderful and fun, iconic, classic. All of those things in spades. But there are some things that I don't personally like as much about this guitar. It has no aging toner. It's very white for the top, and that is preferential, but I think sometimes that tells me that guitars are either much more expensive or much more affordable, and on this, I think you know which way my brain would lean when I would see this guitar. I think another thing that they just missed is that this guitar came to me with really, really high action, and if you were someone who bought this guitar from an online retailer and it showed up to your house and this is your first guitar, I feel like there would be some sadness, there would be some buyer's remorse, or some, they got to be better set up than this. This guitar, I looked at it a second ago. There's some relief, like I could straighten the neck a little bit, but by and large, the rule of thumb is don't use your truss rod to affect action. Your truss rod has a different job than affecting action. It's correlated, but definitely not, that's not your straightest way of affecting the action of a guitar. That's on your saddle down here. You would bring that down. So this is a $299 guitar that probably needs a $50 to $75 setup. That would be a bummer for somebody. Thankfully, I can do it, and this guitar, before it goes out, I'll make sure that it's set up and restrung and just screaming. So anything else I don't like about this guitar? I think that the 1 and 11/16 for me is a little tight. I prefer 1 3/4. You look at other guitars around the same price point from other builders that are making guitars in the same country in the same way, and a lot of them are doing 1 3/4 nut width. And so for me, that's just a little tiny thing that I think would be hard for a new player, and it's a little tight for a seasoned or older player. Okay, with all that said, would I buy this guitar? $299 for a solid top dreadnought with a good gig bag. I mean, that's crazy. It feels like we're living 20 years ago. You look back to like when I started playing guitar and the brands that were available at that point. I don't remember. You couldn't get a Guild at that price. So you look at how much guitar you get for your money. And this is one of the few times that you actually get better, great guitars at really affordable prices. So I think this thing is great. But both of these, really surprising, really exciting. Thanks to Guild for sending me this. I'm Jeremy. This is Guitar Hunter. Go fill the world with music and friendship. Oh, man. And you should spend some time behind this big old needy Guild headstock. They fill my heart with so much joy. All right. See you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.